how to handle these 5 common expired objections.
Ding, ding, ding.
Are you ready? Okay, so the first one. You know what? I'm not going to list it again, but if you have a buyer, you're more than welcome to bring them.
Got it. So you guys are still interested in selling, it sounds like.
We are, but we're not going to list it, only if you have a buyer.
Okay. Now, if I told you I had a buyer, Loida, would you believe me?
Well, why are you calling?
Well, if your home was on the market, it says here 3 months. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
If I called you today and told you I had a buyer, wouldn't you be wondering where were you the last 3 months?
Yeah, but you know what? I'm just getting so many calls from agents this morning. So I'm telling everyone the same thing. If you have a buyer, then we can talk. But otherwise, I know that you guys all just want a listing.
Understood. So it sounds like it's more of like something out of frustration in the process versus just that approach.
Yeah, I mean, you agents, I had my home for sale. A buyer didn't come in, and then now you're all just calling for a listing, telling me, oh, I can get your home sold in 30 days this, and blah, 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 blah. And that's what the last agent told me. So why should I even believe you?
That's a great question, Loida. Now, if I wanted to, in my heart of hearts, contact you before, I couldn't. Do you know why?
Why?
Well, even if I see something wrong or have a suggestion, it is illegal for me to contact you when you're under contract with another agent. So as of midnight last night, that contract expired. This is why now you're getting an influx of calls, is because this is our first opportunity to make contact with you. Does that make sense?
So you're pretty much just calling me because you want the listing, right?
Well, at that time when your home was on the market, we have other seller clients that we're working with. And just like your agent was with you, you would expect your agent to make your home a priority to sell first versus the other ones, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's one.
So we went farther, right? And all I'm giving you here, and if you listen, some of that stuff maybe was taught in scripts, but really,
Yeah.
the whole goal, guys, when you objection handle, especially over the phone in the initial contact, is to keep the conversation going. Mm-hmm. That's why when you heard me say, well, it sounds like it's more of a frustration type of thing. Like, I know many of you are going to rewind and try to write every word, and that's fine, right? That's fine in the beginning, but you need to understand the more objective portion of this, the more big macro part of this, which is we just need to keep the conversation alive, right? We get so caught up in what's that one line I'm going to say is going to get.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even that, it's how you say it, but it's really just keeping the conversation going, right? And we think like we need this mega answer or whatever it is, but everything I said was objectively true. It's like, well, yeah, I had seller clients I was working with, and of course they're going to be priority, right? And if you notice, I don't jump into any hoops. Like, no, I don't just want a listing. Like, I don't like play off what she's saying. She's just frustrated, that client, and just saying what they think. It's up to you to listen, understand, present the next thing, right? And again, in the beginning, you might be a little choppy or it's okay. That's how you get better. But when you role play, and this is the key, you grill each other. You know, what company are you with? And I don't want to work with you. And all you agents sound the same.
All of the hard objections that you're probably going to have a tough time answering, those are the type that you want to role play. That way, when you do get them over the phone, you know exactly what to say. They come off the tip of your tongue like you already know what's
exactly.
going on
It's
next.
just drilling. I mean, even sometimes when we shoot the videos, we slip or we get our tongue tied. It's normal, right? But continue doing it and keep going, because that's really what it's about. So that was, what was the objection again that you said?
The objection was, I'm not going to list it, but if you have a buyer, you can bring them.
Cool. Now, the approach that I took, if you guys noticed, was a little different. Because why do people say that? Normally it's BS. They'll say, oh, just say that to the seller so you can get your foot in the door. It's BS. So I brought up an opposite perspective. I said, would you believe me? Now, she responded a very different way than most sellers respond to me. Most of them are like, well, yeah, you're right. Like, it would be BS. Because I'll say, well, then why? I should have brought him yesterday when you were still on the market, right? Like, so it kind of breaks the ice a little bit, but it's true, right? Now, the level that I have gotten to, and really what I teach and the core stuff that I teach is more on that level of presenting facts and awareness of the situation, but in an emotional way. So it hits them and they keep the conversation going. So we're never BSing. We're always on point with what we're talking about and pointing out obvious things or real things, but it's delivered in an impactful way, right? Cool.
All right, next one is, you know what, we couldn't find our next home, so we're holding off because the market's been crazy, so it's been tough.
Frustrating. Did you guys actually get out there and submit some offers and it didn't work out, or you just couldn't even find anything?
We tried to look for some homes, but no, we just couldn't find anything that met our criteria.
Do you believe that your criteria is like super specific? Like, I want a house on this block, 3-bed, 2-bath, has to be remodeled, or was it just kind of bad luck in the draw where no homes were coming on the market in the general area that you were looking for?
No, I feel that it was just no homes were coming on the market. Most of the time it was us looking on the MLS. Our agent wasn't really being active. So I don't know. We're just kind of defeated at the whole process. That's why we're just going to hold off.
Makes sense. Do you believe a proactive approach from your agent would have facilitated or given you more possibility to find a house?
I mean, I don't even know what that would look like.
Okay. Is that a discussion that you would be open to having and something you would be open to looking at in spite of everything that happened?
Possibly. I mean, if I knew for a fact that we could still get this home sold and get our price and then find the next home and then everything working out in a way that, we're not left in the street or feeling homeless. And I mean, maybe.
That last line that you said probably would have been something that we would have said as an agent, right? Like not being homeless. And if for a fact we could do it because it sounds like something we would say. But you see, I went a little bit more soft where I said, if it was possible, if a proactive approach might have increased the likelihood of you finding a home, or in fact would have found you a home, then I can say, well, let's do this. Right there, you have a couple options. You can step back and start qualifying again. Well, by the way, where were you guys looking to move to? Take the pressure off if you want, get a little bit more information, then go for the kill if you want, right? Or just go for it and say, look, again, I'm not going to sit here and guarantee anything, but I believe that with a proactive approach and with a few small tweaks, you guys could have definitely gotten sold and found a home, because you probably got offers on your house, right?
Yeah, we did. And at the end, we had to turn them down because we just couldn't find our next house.
Cool. And it's really just peace of mind that you're looking for, that, like you mentioned, you won't be homeless.
Yeah.
You can safely and nicely and smoothly transition from this home to the next home, find what you want. Cool. So then you could say, yeah, so the first step would be, let's find a little bit more out about what you want and where you're looking. And then I'll be able to give you a clear answer if it's even worth your time. Fair?
Okay, cool. And then also one more thing relating to this type of scenario.
Yeah.
I usually like to find out from the seller what their previous agent did in terms of finding them the next home.
Yep.
Because sometimes, you brought up the proactive approach. A lot of agents, they'll just kind of send them whatever comes up on the MLS. What we like to do is that we get the criteria from our seller.
Yeah.
So whatever they're looking for, if they're looking in a specific neighborhood, a specific, single story, 3-bedroom, whatever that looks like, we'll try and get a list of phone numbers in that neighborhood to see if we can put together deals off market. So that's our proactive approach. We also cold call. We also door knock. So when we're bringing up these things that we do with these sellers that we're coming across, they're like, what? Like, you guys do that? That's possible? Yeah. And at the end of the day, us as agents, your job is to be a problem solver. They obviously wanted to sell their home for a reason. They maybe wanted to upsize or downsize. Yep. So when you solve their problem and take a proactive approach and seeing how can we arrive to a solution, that's when they see you as like, okay, this is not just a regular agent. This might seem like a legit best of the best type of agent.
100%, yeah. And in these situations, just like the first one, it's normally their emotions, right? And you have to do your best through the conversation to, again, the longer the conversation goes, the more they'll come down off that like extreme kind of anger or frustration, right? But that's really what I want to communicate. Hey, maybe something could have been done, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you really want to throw in the towel? I mean, give it a legitimate shot. Do you feel like everything was done in order to make this possible and it didn't work? Or do you feel like certain things could have been changed? And if they're like, well, yeah, he wasn't proactive. She was already saying it before I asked, basically, but they say, so what if a few small tweaks meant that you had a sold sign in the front and you found your home?
Yeah. And if the seller is motivated, then most likely they will set an appointment with you
100%.
Because they're going to be like, well, I want to find out about this approach because the last agent never even mentioned any of this.
Yeah, and this is where sometimes you guys have to learn to be persistent too. It's like, look, Loida, it's a 10 or 15 minute conversation. I get it. You guys want to stop, totally understand. But this is kind of like, take just a quick look at this. It's almost like your friend bringing you something like, hey, just take a quick peek at this. Like, all it takes is 10 minutes. Maybe it's nothing, but that 10 minutes would be well invested if you're like, oh man, yeah, this is it, right? Then it would be worth it.
Yeah.
So let's take a look. And then after that, if you really feel it can't be done or you want to wait, then wait.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I say. And another way that I word it is that, at the end of our 15-minute talk, you're going to be able to see if it makes sense for you to move or if it doesn't. And if it doesn't, that's completely fine. But at least now you have a second opinion in regards to your specific situation.
Or you have, potential, solutions for, what was missing.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So the next one is, well, you know what, Bryan? What are you going to do differently?
Number one, well, we're actually going to get the home sold because that's what you want, right?
Well, that's what the last agent said, and look where we're at now. I'm just getting bombarded with a whole bunch of agents, annoying agents calling.
Promise you the world, right? I can prove to you that every single home that we put up for sale where there was no crazy circumstance like somebody passing away or something out of our control, where we were able to run the sale properly, we got that home sold. I can prove that to you. So we have a 100% success rate when it comes to sellers selling their home with us.
I don't know. I feel like everybody kind of says the same thing,
We
though.
can prove it.
Okay.
Okay, that would be one way of doing it. Another one says, well, what was the, like, what are you going to do differently,
What
right?
are you going to do
What are you gonna
differently?
do
Now, can you answer it in a way that if it's, let's say,
Yeah.
maybe a newer agent or an agent that hasn't done any
Yeah.
deals and maybe has only worked
course.
with buyers, what
That's
would
why
you
I
say?
wanted to do more.
Exactly. Okay, go.
I would say, so what are you going to do differently? Well, whatever I told you, would you even believe me, Loida?
Not really, because I don't even know what you look like. I haven't met you. I don't know your company, so.
Reframe right there, right? Because if you answer that question, there's really nowhere you can go, right? Because you need to open up the conversation. That would allow me to open up the conversation, right? That's another one. But again, if you're newer and you don't have the confidence, you
Yeah.
want to say, well, look, I could promise you the world. That doesn't mean I'm going to deliver anything, right, Loida?
Yeah.
Like your previous agent.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So what would you need to see or hear from me to know for a fact that I would even be worth your time to meet with and discuss?
I would need to know that you know my market, that you're with a reputable company, your marketing and what you guys do.
Anything else?
Those are the things that come to mind.
Cool. So it sounds to me like you guys are definitely still serious about getting the home sold and moving, right?
I mean, absolutely. Even though we're getting a whole bunch of annoying realtor calls, we do still want to move. Obviously, that's why we put the home for sale. But at this point, we're kind of just thinking, you know, maybe it's a sign. Maybe we're not meant to move.
Yeah, I see here it was on the market for 3 months, right?
Yeah.
How was the activity?
We were getting activity in the beginning, but
Okay,
then...
pause. You just got to keep the conversation going, right? Like, I know we're really extending these role plays. And again, when you specifically role play and you want to work on like 1 or 2 pieces, you don't have to take it that long. Deliver your line that you want to work on or those lines, have the person respond, and then run it back and do it again. You don't have to extend it like we did. I'm just showing you, like I said in the beginning, just keep the conversation going. And what am I doing? How was the activity? And
You're
then
just
the next one, where were you guys looking to move to? It's the script. Right?
Yeah.
There's nothing different, right?
And also one thing,
Yeah.
if you guys notice, Bryan never said, oh, well, I can sell your house for the most, or, oh, I'm the best agent, or I am this, or me. And I think that's a big mistake that a lot of agents make when they're making calls.
Yeah.
When they say, oh, well, you know what? If we meet for 15 minutes, I can tell you like how I can sell your house. And
We'll
like,
buy it back if we don't sell it.
and like I said earlier, you know, you are a problem solver. These people are probably pissed and upset, so you got to figure out what happened. That's why, you know, asking open-ended questions or just finding out, you know, what happened? What was the situation? Where are you going to be moving to? Because then now they're venting to you and they're telling you their situation. And the goal is that from there, you can kind of see how you can position yourself in a way that, you know, you're the better agent versus what they have.
Yeah. So think of it this way from a communication standpoint. Let's say the seller said that. What are you going to do differently? They effectively in communication put out a sandbox, if I'm going to give you a visual, right? If you start answering, we're going to do this, you're now playing in their sandbox. And when you play in their sandbox, when they're running the show, when they're presenting the frames, which is really what it is, and questions, you're always going to lose. Because it's not coming from the problem-solving position. It's coming from whatever position they're in. You need to effectively present your sandbox and get them to play in it conversationally, right? And that's basically what I did. Because she hit the nail on the head. I never, me.
Yeah.
Because then we have many layers of error there. The other one is now you're talking about yourself. They already don't want to be talking to you, and now you're talking about yourself. It's not going to go anywhere, right? So it's almost like they're throwing you the hot potato. You got to throw it back. But what do? We answer those questions, and we're like, instead of just throwing it back. And that's effectively what you want to do.
Yes. All right. So the next one, you know, we're just going to hold off. We're going to hold off.
I mean, it makes sense, Loida. You guys were on the market 6 months.
Yeah, but you know what? We're not really in a rush to move out. If it takes us, you know, some time to revisit the market, then we'll just consider it then.
Got it. How was the activity, by the way, when you guys were on the market? Was it actually good, or did you just throw in the towel from the beginning?
No, in the beginning, we were getting a lot of it.
She's talking now, right? Like, Dun, 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 we won, right? Like you guys think like, wait, no, that's it. You just keep the conversation going. What am I doing? Oh, that makes sense. Oh yeah, I would too. Shit, I would have taken it off the market 3 months ago. You guys waited out 6 months, right? You see, that's pacing and then leading, right? We talk about marrying and matching, pacing and leading, all these things, like all those basic principles. That's that. I mean, put yourself in their shoes, because really that's what this is about. Wouldn't you be pissed if your home was on market? So that's what I would want to hear. What do? We turn into the customer service. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you, Loida. It's like, she's going to get more mad and frustrated because they feel like the person isn't relating to them. This is why we all get pissed off when we call the customer service line. Because we're like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. Can you, like, you want to throw the phone, right? Because they're not meeting you at your level. Just like if she was like, man, all you agents be like, yeah, I got to work with these clowns too. This sucks, right? Cool. I mean, I don't know if you want to do more, but
we just have one more.
Cool.
And then we're going to move on to objections at the listing appointment, but you're going to have to stay tuned for another video where we're going to answer those. So the last one is, you know what, Bryan? We're thinking we're just going to rent it.
Cool. Now, is that like in the perfect world, is that what you want to do, or do you feel like you've been forced to do it?
Well, we didn't get the activity that we wanted to when we had the home for sale, and then obviously it came off the market unsold. So I know that we can rent it out for a good price. So we're kind of weighing our options.
Okay. Now there's a couple ways to go about this. Number one, are you aware that you can put it up for sale and put it up for rent simultaneously?
Really?
Yeah, you can do that if you guys didn't know. Now, again, I'm not speaking for every state. Maybe in your state or your area you can't, so double check. But I know in a lot of places you can. You can put it up simultaneously for rent and for sale. Let's say I don't say that, right? Say, okay, Loida, so 6 months you were on the market, correct? I see here the system. Do you feel everything was done to give your property maximum exposure and give it the best chance to sell for the best price? Honestly.
Well, the pictures, I know that the last agent took them with like their cell phone. I mean, they could have been better, but at the same time, you know, my property's paid off. My property taxes are really low. So it's not a big deal. And I know that I can rent it out for a lot. If
you had to choose, either one will get done. It gets rented, no problem. You snap your fingers, or you snap your fingers and it sells. Which one do you think you would choose?
I mean, if I could sell it, I would probably buy something else.
Now she's being easy, right? But you guys get where I'm like, all I'm doing is that previous point that I told you guys where I'm setting the sandbox. That's what I'm doing, right? Perfect world. You can do either one, rent or sell.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm putting it there, right? Do this. Is that what you want to do, or would you rather sell it, right? Like, again, I'm the one presenting it and she's answering it. So I'm just sitting back and shutting up and letting her talk. That's really what it's about, because the only other thing, if she said that, you could say, have you already executed a lease agreement with somebody? Now, even if it's leased, you can still sell it.
And then also, another thing that I would ask is that I would say, well, Bryan, if you did sell this property, were you going to do a 1031 exchange? And did you want to get into something more profitable? Did you want to get units, another house, or what was the intention to begin with?
Yeah, or instead of renting it, why don't we increase your cash flow? And we do a 1031 exchange, right? What are you getting right now? You got this one. Do you have any other ones? How many doors do you have? Okay, you're getting a $1,200 per door.
And these are deeper questions that obviously you have to know what to say, because any agent is not going to ask these questions. But the moment that you start asking these questions, if that person is an investor, they're going to be like, oh, dang, this agent knows what they're talking about. And in any investor, if someone owns a property that's an income property, they're all about making that passive income. And if you can demonstrate to them that there's a solution that could possibly make them more money in their pocket every single month, then they're going to listen to you.
I agree.
Anything else to wrap this 100%. One up?
Yeah, I mean, a bonus tip for the absentee owners, those are the types of conversations and things you want to be discussing with them. Absentee owners is still a huge lead source for us, always will be. I don't see agents really contacting them, even though I've been talking about it for fucking 10 years now. But that's the level of conversation you have with them. And those are great contacts, even if they don't sell, for your database, because those are the people with money, those are the people who are active in the market, and those are the people that, whether the market is good or bad, they're going to be out buying real estate and acquiring for themselves, but also making you commissions if you happen to make contact with them. All
right, so now we're going to move on to the 5 most common objections that you're probably going to hear at a listing appointment. But for that, you're going to have to wait for the next video.
Haha.